Hey y'all. Welcome to Keeping It 100, where we have these really open and honest conversations to make sure you have all the information you need to make better health decisions. I am your host, Dr. Kristen Paul Motley, and of course, we have a really good show for you today. If you think of any questions, you have comments, please put them in the chat. My friend and colleague, Dr. Tyan Thomas, is always behind the scenes helping me out. You may even hear her chime in today because I might need her help on a few questions. So just pop your questions and comments in the chat. I just want to bring in my wonderful, amazing co-host, Mr. George Mink Jr. George, you out there? Do I have a co-host today?
There we go. What's going on? I'm here.
Georgie.
What's going on? What's going on, Doc? Good afternoon.
Hey, how you living, G?
I'm good. Still out here practicing and all that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm in the streets, handling the business. Well, last week we had a fair out Derby. You know, that's our little cousin now. So we had a nice little fair. It was like a family event. It was basically for the kids. The borough gave an event for the children of the community. Nice. Bouncy houses, some information tables. And Ms. Janice invited us, and we had an information table. A lot of engaging questions from the parents. Kids came over, answering questions about COVID. I mean, we getting them, Doc. We working it. Like, we working the streets. Shout out to Jada. That was my co-host out there with all the bugs that was biting us. But
I know y'all getting tore up.
Yeah, we had it. It was an informative day. Though. I felt good. Like, I felt good out there.
That's good. And for all future events, we will have bug spray, because when I got there, so I got there late. It was like an hour left, and y'all was like swatting flies away.
Yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly.
I hopped right on Amazon. I ordered that bug spray.
Yeah.
And it didn't come yet. I need to check on that order, but we'll have bug spray on deck next time, because we have some events coming up. We got to make sure we good sitting out in the middle of the field.
Right.
But yeah, shout out to Jada. She did a really, really good job. She was engaging with the children and asking them questions. And shout out to Ashley, our other intern, who came up with the game that was played, and she came up with all the giveaways that we gave the kids. So they were like swarming our table. They really, really had a great time. So What I learned when I got there was a lot of the kids had already been vaccinated.
Oh yeah.
That was impressive. Yeah. A lot of those little children had already been vaccinated, and I was just glad to see that so many of our people are taking it seriously, and they're making a decision to vaccinate their children, because it's not an easy decision, and we'll talk about that a little more later. But I was really impressed with the number of kids that were vaccinated.
Yeah, me too. And they were so like informed. They was already answering questions, and I'm like, wow, okay. Like 3, 4, 5-year-olds, their parents had them on point. So
yeah, that was really dope and inspiring to see that.
Yeah, definitely.
I just wanted to catch up a little bit. What else you been up to this week?
Nothing. Still out in the streets, talking to brothers, trying to get them back on deck. My main concern this week was for the brothers that I've been running into a lot of people that got like one shot. So I'm just like, yo, bro, you gotta finish up. Like, I actually left off the show with that message last week, but it was like still a continuing thing for me. Like, if you got the one shot, you might as well go ahead and finish it off and catch up.
Well, George, is it because they don't have time to get the second one, or are they thinking one is better than none? Like, what's the thought? What are they telling you?
Well, I don't know, Tom. I'm getting mixed reception of. Some people just feel as though they don't need it, or they just got the one shot and now they wanted to go back to being hesitant. Some people didn't make time. One guy didn't even know that he still could get it after a certain amount of time. So that's what I really wanted to talk to Doc about. Like, did it really matter? Because I think he got his shot back about 5 or 6 months ago. And he wanted to know, I didn't know, how effective would it still matter, or is it still the same thing, or it has to be within a certain time period?
So that's a good question. Yep. So it does not matter. He needs to go back and get his second shot. So it could be 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year later. You need to do it. But the quicker you do it, the quicker you have the protection you need to fight against the virus. And so I think for some people, they just don't really understand the importance of getting two shots, and they feel like they really didn't want the first. Like, you lucky I got this first one.
Mm-hmm.
Now you want me to find time and make a way to go back to get another one when I didn't want to get it in the first place. They're just not making it a priority. And it's unfortunate, because you really do need to get multiple shots, because that is how vaccines work. You take the first shot to introduce your body into making the antibodies, and then you take another shot to make your body make more antibodies. And so you need to get to a certain level to have the protection that's necessary to keep you from being really sick and being in a hospital and dying. So you really need to get each of the shots. That's just the nature of vaccines. All of them are like that. There's none where you just take one and you're done.
Right.
None that I can think of. Can you think of any, Tanya?
No, even with the flu shot as kids, we got 3 of them before we just started getting 1 a year. So I think you're right. Yeah.
Right. So, and then one brother was like, man, you still on that COVID stuff? It's monkeypox time. And I'm just like, bro, listen. Listen, we got to take care of one thing at a time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, tell them to focus, right?
You skip one, bro. Like, so it's like, come on, man. So, I mean, it's been interesting, though. I mean, like, Doc, but I appreciate that, because I meant to call you that day, because this was just recent, like yesterday. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. Well, I mean, I guess the effectiveness is better if you get them together. Like,
it doesn't matter. It just needs to happen. It just can't be too soon, because you got to get your body some time to be exposed to it, to create the antibodies, and then to chill, and then you wake it back up again by doing the second one. So it can't be too soon, but it could be at 3 weeks or any time after that. You just need to get it.
Right. Okay. Because I got his phone number, though. I mean, he's a good brother.
Call him and tell him.
I'm going to call him as soon as we hang up.
Tell him where to go get it, too, so he don't have no excuses.
Right.
Good question, though. That's a really good question. Anything else you've been seeing out in the street lately?
Pretty much my update. I mean, right now, the hot topic is the kids going back to school. Like the heightened awareness as far as the second the booster for the kids, as well as being vaccinated, and a lot of parents on the bubble. Like a lot of parents, and I've been getting questions about their kids as well. So it was like, look, I said, look, I gotta talk to my doc first. My doc
I ain't even sign up yet.
She ain't get little Noah done yet. So it's like, listen, she on your team. I gotta talk to her today.
So, I'm gonna get there. So the thing is, I want to get him vaccinated. I will get him vaccinated. It is just, for me, it's about when. So, and I went through the same process with myself. I went through the same process with my daughter. It's like, I'm not going to be first in line. Mm-hmm. I know y'all did these studies. Now, in adults, they studied tens of thousands of people. There was so many people studied, which was great, but I still wasn't going to be first in line, because you just don't know what rare things pop up as more people are being vaccinated. And I wanted to know. I know it's rare, but what are those rare things, so that I can know what to look out for in myself? Hold on one second. I promise I don't got cold with my throat.
Yeah, okay. All right. I got plenty of tests over here. So if you ran out, let me know. You're supposed to be testing today anyway. Okay.
So I got an update for y'all on that, but I just want to get through this real quick. So for me, it's like, I want to know all the information about the cough again.
Oh man, listen, y'all. See, this is why you need to get vaccinated.
This is why y'all need to get vaccinated. Everybody got COVID.
Oh wow. But yeah, Doc, get it together. Come on.
All right. So then I went to the same thing with Bria. The thing with vaccines is that if there's something that's going to happen in the history of vaccines, it happens within 2 months of a person getting vaccinated. So in my mind, I don't want to get vaccinated in that 2-month period once it first becomes available. I'm gonna let everyone else go. I'll see what happens. I'll see, and then I can make an educated decision to say, this thing might happen because it came up. Sorry. George, stop looking at me like that.
Okay.
I took a COVID test this morning. I'm going to tell y'all why in a minute.
Well, what was the results? But go ahead.
I'm going to tell y'all in a minute.
All right.
Do I want to be exposed to this risk? How rare is the thing? Is it something that happens in 1 in 1 million people? Is it something that happens in 300 in 1 million people? Like, how rare is it? How likely is it going to happen to me or my child because of whatever other health factors we have? So it's like, I want to look at everything together and have all the information in place to make a decision about what to do. So when it was time to get Bria vaccinated, those vaccines, she's 10, and those vaccines became available in the fall. I went to the calendar. I counted out 8 weeks. I said by MLK Day, I think they came out in November, I'm going to get her vaccinated around MLK Day because by then it would be 8 weeks. What happened was Omarion hit the scene and it was like doing the most. So 6 weeks in, I was like, let me get this child vaccinated because they dropped the mask at school. I felt comfortable with the data that was available at that 6 week point to feel like it was unlikely that anything else was going to come up and that anything bad would happen as a result of her getting the vaccine. So I got her vaccinated at 6 weeks. I didn't wait my full 8 weeks, but it was other factors that came up. And I was like, let me get her vaccinated because Omarion is in these streets and doing the most and not requiring masks. And she's the only one in her class with a mask on. So I got her vaccinated. Now with Noah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to get to this 2-month mark, like the 8 week mark, so I can see how many kids have been vaccinated from the time it came out to that 8 week mark. Did anything come up with those children? Right now, I haven't seen anything, which is phenomenal, which is amazing. Haven't seen anything come up, but we're still kind of early. We're about a month out. So we're still kind of early. I'm going to keep my eye on it. At the same time, he's in daycare now. He started daycare. So he's in the place where people are not wearing a mask. He's the only one with a mask on. And so Omarion cousin out here doing splits and black flips all over the place. And so many people have COVID now. So I'm like trying to weigh, do I just go ahead and get him vaccinated? Now he's only 2 years old. As much as I drop him off with that mask on. Now the good thing is that when his teacher sends pictures, he has his mask on. Now, I don't know if she throw it on because she know I'm gonna be looking at her, or if he just really have it on. But he does have it on in the classroom. Now, when he goes outside, he takes it off, which I'm totally fine with that. So, we're struggling at our home about when to get him vaccinated. But I want him vaccinated now because he's in daycare and he's around people that don't have on masks. Nobody has a mask on there, and the schools aren't mandating it. But I am like, I just don't know. I just want to make sure it's completely safe. Now, if anything comes up, it'll be a rare thing because it's been about 400,000 kids that received the vaccine so far. So that's a lot. 400,000 is a lot of kids that's less than 5 who've gotten vaccinated. And it's more than that because that data was from June. I think it was from June. So parents are vaccinating them. I am grateful for it because I want to look at that information and say what's coming up that wasn't caught in the clinical trial. Because in the clinical trials, I think they studied a couple thousand, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 kids. And so I want to know what's coming up in that wasn't caught in the clinical trial. Because now when you're vaccinating hundreds of thousands of people and you're waiting a few weeks, you can't hide it. Like it's going to come out. Nobody's going to hide it. The press is on it. The public is on it. Nobody is going to hide anything from us. So if it's going to happen, it's going to come out, and I'm gonna be sitting there like, waiting. So I'm struggling. I don't know, George. What you thinking?
I mean, like I feel like you a little bit, but again, my daughter's going through the same thing with our granddaughter. I've been talking to her about it. She's like basically against the vaccination. So I don't know if we want to show that or how you want to do that, Doc, or.
Yeah, let's play her video. So we got a video of Georgie's daughter and her sharing her opinion about getting her child vaccinated.
Hi, my name is Tasia Simmons. In my opinion, and I'm no COVID expert, I don't really do, much research on COVID, but in my opinion, I don't believe that children should have to get the COVID vaccine. I believe this because I don't really feel like the vaccine is that effective. I know that COVID has not been much of a problem for children anyway, and I don't think they should have to go through, getting the vaccine, getting the shot, and going through that pain that I felt after I got the vaccine for something that does not really work. I have both shots, and I've had COVID multiple times, and I feel like after I've had the vaccine, my symptoms of COVID were worse than prior to me getting the vaccine. So I also feel like the vaccine was kind of thrown together really quickly, so I don't really know enough about it for me to feel comfortable enough to give it to my child. I did get it for work reasons. I wanted to keep my job. So I got the vaccine, but I don't believe.
Wow.
I love that video. She's so beautiful. She looks just like you.
She acted like she was like on a shoot, like, oh my God, Tasia.
She was ready. She said, oh,
right.
What you want, Dad? I got you.
Right, I got you. She hooked us up. Well, she set us up, Doc. You heard all that stuff, though.
She did.
And that's how she feel. I mean, she's in the medical field herself, so she's around it. She was actually forced to get the shot, but now it's like we're talking about her daughter. She don't play with her daughter. She don't play with my baby, right. So it's like she's serious. So, Doc, what would you say?
So she said a lot, and so I noticed your daughter, and I know she might be looking and watching, but I'm just gonna keep it 100. Like, I don't know her. And I just want to just share how I honestly feel about what she had to say. Is that okay?
That's
fine. I keep it real?
Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. That's the only way she like it anyway. You gotta be real with my daughter. She don't play them games.
So I listened to that a few times, and I heard her say a lot. I feel and I think. Like, I feel that kids don't need it. I think they'll be okay without it. So like I heard a lot of I feels and I thinks, and that's a normal reaction to make decisions by what you feel and what you think. She also mentioned she doesn't know enough. And so that's where I would challenge anybody who feels like that, who feels like they don't know enough, to get the information. Don't make decisions based on what you don't know, because I did that at the beginning. I was like, I'm not getting that vaccine. They put it together quickly, like she said. It was too fast. They don't know if it's going to work. They don't know how safe it is. They don't know this. And I was just going by what I think. I didn't look at one article. I didn't look at one study. I didn't pick up the phone, call anybody. I was just on my Black woman. They can't tell me what to do. I'm not doing that. I don't trust them because they can't be trusted. And then once I got my mind together, I said, let me just take a look at the information myself. Let me call people who I know that are involved in these trials and are involved in this process and get the answers, because making a decision on what you think is not good enough when you're like protecting your health and you're making decisions for other people's lives. It has to be made on what it is, not just what you think it is.
Right.
Tyne, do you want to jump in on that at all?
No, I agree with everything that you're saying. Like, we do have to try to follow up with the information. I was actually going through some conversation in the chat as well. So after you guys are done with that, I can share what was going on in the chat.
Okay. All right, cool. Perfect. Sorry, I can't see the chat. Wow. All right. So I think that, we have to move from what we feel at some point and go and get the information. The information is there. It's and so many, billions of people around the world have received these vaccines. It's very unlikely that anything new is going to come up. The vaccines, they work. You saw that people who are in the hospital who are dying from COVID, they are people that have not been vaccinated. I mean, that is just what it is.
Right.
And so the information is the information, and you have to use that to make decisions and not go off of how we feel for the entire time. Now you start off by how you feel, but at some point you got to move into, okay, what is the information? What is true? What is honest?
Mm-hmm.
George, what you think?
Well, what I find interesting is that she got this shot herself, and not just singling out my daughter or whatever, but just anybody who got this shot for themselves, right? So now it's time to make the decision for your child. So me, like being a parent, I know we like way more protective and defensive when it comes to our children. So we'll take the bullet for our kids, but it's like now it's time for my child. So I'm really defensive. Like I already was, having hesitant issues with my own mindset, with the way I thought my thought process was going with the vaccination and with COVID in general. But now it's time for my child to get it. So it's like the child's not fully developed. Certain things come to mind. I mean, the child is still growing, like they're not at full adult capacity like we are. So you don't know if their body will be able to take it. You really don't know. Like you don't even know like what your child might come up with later on. Like your child might have asthma right now. You might not know. Like it's certain things you might not know, like because they're still growing and they're still, so it's like you just it's always a question mark. But I mean, with the way the world is going and the way school went last year, the way certain things just destroyed our whole way of living, you have to consider it. That's how I feel. Like you at least have to consider it. Do your own homework. And really weigh the options of, okay, so what if it is an outbreak at school, or what if my child does get COVID? Because one of her points was that a lot of kids don't really get that sick from it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true, though. That was a good point. Yeah, so it's like, all right, if my child could get a regular cold, then I wouldn't mind my child getting COVID because they might not get that sick from it. So, I mean, she made some valid points, but I'm just leaning towards to getting the shot because I feel though it's still like they're still growing. So we're getting different variants, we're getting different versions of it. That might just be this variant. What if the variant is a little more tougher next time and it might attack my child's system a little different? So you never know, for people that's not vaccinated. So, I mean, it's the 50-50, but I still feel like I would still be leaning towards to working my way to where you're at. I will at least be outside of the place getting ready to get the shot instead of being, even though you're not in line yet, Doc. But I'm just
instead of still sitting at home, like
I don't know what at least you're circling the building. But
I mean, I would say this: kids don't get as sick, which is true. Right. However, more kids are in the hospital from COVID now more than ever because the new variant is so contagious. It gets to more people. And so because it gets to more people, you're naturally going to have more kids impacted. And so although kids make out better, they're still not fully protected. And having some protection is better than having no protection. Mm-hmm. And we know that the vaccines are incredibly safe. So if you do have a child who does get vaccinated, they're going to have some protection. They won't see that long COVID. They'll help reduce the spread of the virus to other people. So it's all these other factors that play in. And we talked about this a little bit last week. It's not just about you. It's about people around you that you're protecting when you get vaccinated. Mm-hmm. And so looking at all those pieces together, I'm definitely going to get Noah vaccinated. I just want to make sure that I know about all the rare things that could happen before I decide. So that say, for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and again, rare side effects from vaccines come up within 2 months. So like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, that was causing the clots in the brain.
Oh yeah.
Clot, we saw that some of the signs were headache, and some of the signs were, like you had different symptoms that came up that let people know, if you got this vaccine, look out for this. And so that's what I want. I want that information that says, this is what you should look out for if Noah has this vaccine. And that kind of stuff doesn't always come up right away. It comes lately. I think for the heart conditions, the blood clots, all that was happening within 2 weeks. So it wasn't like it took a whole 2 months. So I think it's because it's been about a month. I think if I gave it at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks more, I would feel more comfortable doing it. But again, I just want to make sure I know what the rare effects are and what to look out for. And that's just how I feel. I don't know. I can't get around that. Right. But he's definitely going to get vaccinated, because I don't want to be one of those families who's planning a funeral for a child for a disease that has a vaccine. I just don't want to give myself a chance of that happening. And so I definitely am going to get them vaccinated. I just want to wait a little longer to see if anything rare pops up.
Well, Dr. Motley, you hit a couple of points that are in the chat. So talking with Antoine, and he made the point, a couple of points here. First, he said masks don't work, which we had a little bit of a conversation on that. And so my response was that unless you're doing it for everybody in a region, it's not going to work, because people will just go into another county, take their mask off, and then they still can bring it back to their family unit, and then that family unit can spread it. And then he also made the point that vaccines don't prevent the spread, which is true. Going back on that, it's true. But then the one thing that maybe you can comment on is that if a person is sick for a shorter duration of time, then you might, kind of in an indirect way reduce the spread, because they're not sick as much, which means they could have less virus. But I don't know what the data is saying. And I did tell him that you're right, vaccines aren't supposed to necessarily reduce the spread, but it should reduce the duration, which should kind of indirectly reduce the spread. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's true. I agree. And so because when you have the antibodies to fight back against the viral particles, you may not produce as much of the virus that it takes to spread it to as many people. And so that's why you see the spread cut down when you are vaccinated, compared to when you have no protection and your body trying to figure out how I'm gonna fight this off, waiting days to produce the antibodies that you need to fight it and to prevent you from getting really, really sick. Hopefully your body does that, because we know that the older you are, the less your body can fight it. But thank God, a lot of the older people, they got vaccinated. And so they wasn't playing, because it was really, really doing a lot of work in them. But I know that the studies show that when you are vaccinated, you spread it to less people, right, as compared to when you're not. And so that's just what the data shows.
Right. And it's been proven. I mean, that's how we started opening up. I mean, we wouldn't have never opened up if the majority of the people, or the percentage of people that got vaccinated already, we wouldn't be in the position we are now. So, I mean, I get it. Like, again, is really no force on anything. But I know, Doc, we're trying to do a kids vaccination clinic soon. So I'm just saying, like,
let me just one other thing that Antoine mentioned, and I just want to give each of you a chance to, clearly state your position, which, just for the record here. So Antoine made a good point. He said everyone's immune system is different. The choice should be up to the parent about getting the vaccine. It shouldn't be forced or mandated. And so I haven't heard that we're saying mandates here, but I just wanted to have you guys put it on the record about what exactly, we're not really advocating for that. We're just trying to give people information so they can make that informed decision about the risks of someone having an immune system that's different and how that may or may not contribute to getting adverse effects. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys to kind of
go ahead, Doc. You first. All right, thanks.
You go, G. You go.
All right, I will go. I mean, it's definitely not mandated. I mean, we know that. I mean, the doc sees a prime example of it. Like we still didn't get Nova vaccinated yet. So I mean, he's right. Everybody's immune system is different. I mean, COVID just took over our whole livelihood 2 years ago, and we just trying to make it a big thing to take it serious. So whatever we can do to battle it and to be defensive, that's all we recommend. Like as far as the kids, that's a whole nother subject. As we can see, the doctor's still on the bubble. A lot of parents, we're going to have a lot of parents' opinions on the show, like going towards school. Every week we'll be having questions from different parents so we can get like a different perspective. And then, like a scientific perspective. A lot of the things that we say are just from what we think. Mm-hmm. So like you said, everything is coming out. I think I might not. So it's like certain things that we might not know and certain things that we're still finding out. So, I mean, it's definitely not mandated, but we just know as far as the kids, so many outbreaks happened last year. So they would go to school for 1 week and then get sent home for 8. I think about 4 or 5 times my grandbaby, they had to come home because of the outbreaks, either from the teachers or from the kids.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is avoid that. So, but go ahead, Doc, you could take over.
I was going to say that I got a call yesterday about a camp that has an outbreak. They have about 100 kids there. And so far as of yesterday, 7 or 8 tested positive. They had to shut the camp down. Like, we got to stop doing this, being open and shut down, because the kids are impacted by it. They're negatively impacted. Our lives are, because now parents got to find somebody to watch these kids. Who won't watch these kids while I work all day? Right. So the thing is that if the vaccines are available, it helps to decrease the spread. It helps to decrease the sickness. And the reason that the mandates are in place, especially from the government, is because they're paying the bill. So you're not paying a hospital bill when you're in the ICU on a ventilator for a disease that has a vaccine to prevent it. And so they have an interest in keeping people out the hospital because, one, it overwhelms healthcare providers. Like, they can't even treat people who have cancer, who've been in car accidents, or gunshot victims, because their personnel is tied up treating COVID patients when COVID has a vaccine that could keep you out of the hospital. Right. And while you're there every day, you're running up their light bill. And so the costs are going up. It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars to treat people in the hospital per day, depending on the procedure that they're having. It's just crazy. And you're not likely to get that bill. The government's going to get it. The government has to pay it. And so that's why they put in these mandates, because the money got to come from somewhere, and it costs a lot of money. So that's a way for them to control the cost, is to say you got to get vaccinated, because the vaccines work. They're not going to cause more harm than good. They're going to cause more good than harm. Now, what we're seeing because of the variants, and the variants exist because so many people in certain countries are still not vaccinated. The variants come up and they spread, and the vaccine doesn't work as well against these new variants. And so that's why you still see people getting sick. So, George, when your daughter said that she got the vaccine and then she got COVID, she probably had a version that wasn't as protective against the vaccine. Because the variants, they are trying to get around our immunity. And as long as we stay unvaccinated, as long as we stay out and about, then they're going to do that. And so we need a new variant, specific booster is what we need. We need to be doing the Omicron booster, which the FDA did charge the drug companies to come up with one specific for that, because that's the variant that's out now. And so we know that
this is why the flu shots. Sorry, I was going to say, this is why the flu shots, why we get those every year, because every year there are variants. And so they collect information from, I think Australia tends to get theirs first. They figure out what the top 3 strains are, and then they put it in our vaccine. So we have some precedents for what's happening now. It's just that we weren't around when this was happening. Well, a lot of us, because we were young, we just kind of live with the fact that flu shot is every year. But I think it might be a little bit harder to process, because we're like, well, you told me last time I only needed to get 2, and now you're changing it. But mean, I think we have to realize, we have to update the recommendations based on the new information that we get. But I think, like you said, there's supposed to be a newer version with the newer strains coming out in the fall. And so
Right.
I think we just have to kind of get ourselves thinking that it's like you said, it mutates. Viruses mutate a lot. And this is just part of what viruses do. This is nothing new that, hasn't been seen with other viruses. So
that's true.
Right.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, like you say, like, I mean, it has family members. So like you said, whatever vaccination we got, it might not be that effective against, the variant that week. Yeah. So you just never know. So it's just like, that's why it's good to stay in tune with us and people that's getting the information, the doctors, and like you said, your literature, and just really doing your homework, because it's mutating. So it's not the same. It's not the same from the beginning when it first came here. When we
totally different.
Right. It's not even the same thing. So it's like we made something against that, but now we got to keep going because this thing is growing family members. It's almost at a family reunion.
It's a whole barbecue.
Right. So
by the way, speaking of barbecues, I don't do much, but I was at the barbecue this weekend, and I had heard this morning that about 7 people so far tested positive for COVID from that event.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of them was inside. Y'all know I did not go inside. Mm-hmm. I stayed my behind outside. So today, when I had like a little itchy throat, I was like, hold up, let me take a COVID test. I was scared to take it. I said, I have to take it because I don't want to be spreading it around. So it was negative, but just be careful how y'all move. You cannot tell if a person has COVID. So just be careful. That's all I can say. But we're going to wrap up. We over time.
Right.
I don't want no overtime bill. So I'm going to close this out. And I'm going to say, if y'all want to go anywhere, find out where to go to get your vaccine. We never are going to force people to get the vaccine. What we are here to do is give you information so you can make a decision on your own. So you can go to vaccines.gov to find out where to go and get the COVID vaccine. And so thanks, Georgie. Thanks, Dr. Thomas. It was a good show. And we will see y'all next week.
Yeah. All right.
Bye, everybody.
All right.